All right, I'm here to say that today is a special treat for all of you. Don Flo is not ubiquitous on the speaking circuit. Rumor has it the last time he spoke to a group that was anywhere near this large was about 8 years ago. The time before that was about 1999, he told me. So by my math, that's about 3 times in 28 years. Not bad. He's not on the rubber chicken circuit, and we're not serving rubber chicken, which is a good thing. There's a reason why Don does that. Don is all about operations, innovation, and excellence. There's 36 franchises in North Carolina and Virginia. As the chairman and CEO of Flo Automotive Companies, he leads a team that is continually striving for a better consumer experience and improved operations. He's a doer, he's a thinker, and he's one of the most respected minds in the auto retail business. We are fortunate to have him here today. Time number 3 since 1999. Don Flo.
So thank you, Jason, and you know that the reason I'm here after that long a period of time is because Jason is a very persuasive person. 10 emails, 20 phone calls, you just bow down and say, yes, I'll be there. But really, for me, it's a privilege to be here today because gathered here are a number of people who have profoundly impacted my life, who for the last 40 years, both professionally and personally, have been friends. And they've shaped the experience I've had in this wonderful industry. And I'm very, very grateful for those friendships. You know, this is a wonderful business. It's full of incredible people and unbelievable opportunities. But it's also full of amazing potential change in front of us right now. And my purpose today is to actually talk about that change and talk about how we can actually address it and how we can thrive in the middle of it. So my goal today is actually threefold. Really, the first is to provoke you with a clear picture of the brutal reality confronting us. That sounds like a really fun talk, doesn't it? And secondly, to challenge you to seize the opportunities that actually are right in front of us today, that have come to many other industries but have not quite come to us yet, but we can get there. And thirdly, I want to encourage you that we have the potential to have an extraordinary future if we will just embrace the possibilities in front of us and imagine our business in a different way. So I frame my talk with a certain framework that I'd like to go through, and I'm calling it Defining the Future, Creating and Capturing Value. How do we create value and how do we capture value? That's really the fundamental issue in our business as we look forward. And I want to frame the conversation with 4 propositions. The first one is that new vehicles, margins, will never return. And used vehicle margins are going to continue to decline. We need a new business model, and that is the brutal reality that none of it in this room can change. Secondly, the driving value-creating activity in the future will be personalization and optimization. Personalization and optimization. And the way we'll get there is that every aspect of the retail automobile business will become completely digital. And the combination of these two are really what our future looks like in front of us if we'll seize it. It's a big opportunity to personalize, optimize, and digitize. But lastly, there's another trend in front of us that offers transformational opportunities. When usage and ownership becomes decoupled, because then we will effectively be in the asset risk management business and the customer management retention business. I'm calling that, from our purposes, an integrated transportation services provider. That's what we could become, actually. And this kind of business opens up all new opportunities for value creation because it puts us at the center of value creation in the future. So, why do we need a new business model? Well, it all begins with value creation. And to answer the question about value creation, we have to go back and say, what is the formula for that? So gross margin in our business is really value creation minus our direct cost. So we've got to understand what is value creation for customers today. What do customers actually value today? Because what they value is how we get to gross margin. So let's look at the new vehicle creation model in the past, value creation model in the past. Or why did customers pay us gross margin, sales profit in the past? And what's changed? What did we actually do to earn it in the past? Well, value creation at the retail level in the past really involved the following components. First, product information. We were the portal for them to come and learn about cars. They came to our dealerships to learn about cars. Look, many of us remember the Up Bus on Saturday afternoons, right? 150 people out on your lot who've never seen a car before, thousands of brochures going out explaining to them the basics of cars. Product access. We were the place they could come actually see cars and touch them. We offered a trade-in market, which lowered the cost of buying a new vehicle. Make no mistake about the importance of this. No other industry has ever done this. Computers haven't done this. Furniture hasn't done this. Appliances haven't done this. We created residual value, which lowered the price, and that happened at our dealerships. We created access to financing and lending sources. You know, the indirect lending business was extremely important because they could come to us in a time where the direct lending business was much more cumbersome. We were faster than they could go find money anywhere else. We're a place to take care of customers. You know, 40 years ago, all cars had problems and some cars had a lot of problems. And it was really important for customers to find a place they could trust. Some of you may remember what the warranties used to be on these cars. 1 year and 12,000 miles. And the 12,001 mile, the manufacturer would say, sorry, out of warranty. And so for the customers, if they could find a place they could come trust, it meant an enormous amount. And then when there was a time where there was no information, or trying to find some information about price or anything else was very difficult, customers really wanted to find a place they could trust about pricing of cars. And that's why an individual salesperson was so important, because they would say, I can trust this person because I can trust them about pricing a car. And then as America grew and grew and grew, dealerships on every corner meant that we were convenient to come find places. And lastly, friendly people. Everybody wants to meet friendly people and go there. And so dealerships were full of those things. Well, you know, if you put all that in a big salad bowl and mix it all up, you might have done it slightly different than I did it, but in reality, we put all that together, and the combination of all those created value for customers. If you did a fancy regression model, I promise you 98% of the value creation can be found in those 8 attributes I just described right now. They were the reason that customers chose to buy a car from us, and they're the reason they paid us a profit. So what happened? Did we stop doing those things? Of course we didn't stop doing those things. But customers' needs changed because the market changed on us. What took place? What changed? In the past, we talked about physical search for information and physically coming to our dealerships for shopping. I love Saturdays. I get so jazzed up about Saturdays, and there'd be thousands of people in all of our dealerships. It'd be a blast running around being excited about what's going on. Well, today, those same thousands of people are shopping with us. I just can't see them anymore. They're all online. When I look at the number of visits we have at our dealerships, it's mind-boggling to me, but they're all online. Secondly, transparency. We went from a time of low transparency where customers knew nothing about pricing of cars, nothing about trade-in values, and nothing about financing. Today, with third-party references, they know as much as we do. And so if we made our money by having low transparency, that's gone forever from us. You see, the market in that day had very little intelligence in itself, so an individual had a very difficult time actually finding that. But the market is full of intelligence now, and anybody can access that. Thirdly, we went from a time of asymmetrical information because we used to have all the power. It was tipped in our favor totally. And when you have all the market knowledge and all the market power, it gives you pricing power. But that's gone now. We have symmetrical information in the marketplace. And lastly, we went from a time when there were very few high-quality products in any segment, backed by poor warranties, So today we have numerous high-quality products in every segment backed by comprehensive warranties. They don't need us like they used to need us to take care of them because cars are much better. And additionally, because of social media, if we fail to take care of them, we're in big trouble. So everybody understands the importance of acting immediately upon a customer problem. And all of this has flattened the value we create. And if this is not enough for you, I've got some more bad news. It keeps getting worse. Because we have an underlying systemic structural imbalance in the whole automotive ecosystem. That consists of the following things. The potential supply of new vehicles far exceeds the demand for the vehicles in the marketplace. Secondly, no manufacturer is a price maker in the market. If they want to increase their revenue, they've got to increase their unit count they sell. They can't just come back and say, hey, let's raise our prices 10% to get more revenue. Maybe Ferrari can do that, but nobody else can do that. So the reality of it is everybody's fighting for the same space in that particular market. And lastly, the manufacturer's gross margin is greater than dealer's gross margin. They keep making money when we don't keep making money. And that's a lot of pressure in our system as we go for that. As long as there's a contribution margin greater than the cost of not producing vehicles, the manufacturers are going to continue to produce vehicles. I want them to. I'm a stockholder in manufacturers. I pay them to make a profit. If they're making a profit, keep building cars. That's my stockholder point of view. On my dealer side, stop building cars. Stop building cars. But remember, they make a contribution profit. They're going to keep building them along the way. And that's not going to change. And so what are the consequences? Well, here is that brutal reality that I was describing. A zero sales margin is a 1.5% reduction in net to sales in our business. If you used to have a very fine business at 4%, welcome to 2.5%. And then, because what Dale Pollux has taught us, the same thing's happening in used cars now because information's out there. It's a whole different process. It's a much more efficient market. And we're seeing across the board about a 33% reduction in margins with used cars. That's another 0.5 percentage point of net to sales. So what does that mean? Well, if you used to be 2.5% net to sales, slightly above NADA's average, you're now 0.5. That's what you're staring at, 0.5%. So you had a nice dealership, $100 million in annual sales. Used to make $2.5 million every year. You said, I need to do better, I need to do better, I need to do better. Welcome to $500,000, which after tax, $300,000, $250,000, depending on your state. You're going, this is not a sustainable business model. How do we change it? What do? Do we give up and go home? Well, some people are. I mean, frankly, we're getting inundated with phone calls. People want to sell their dealerships right now because they don't know what to do. And they're saying, this may be as good as it gets. I need to get out now. But many of us are saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to adapt. We're going to learn. And we're going to change. So what specifically do we need to do? We need to change the value equation model. We need to create value differently for customers. And we need to lower our cost relative to our output. The new model, our motto in our company is that we need to be as efficient as Amazon is digitally, with higher productivity of people and assets, and we need to be as enjoyable as Apple when our customers actually engage us. There's got to be a great guest experience when they do touch us. So what's driving this? What's fundamentally changed inside the world? What do customers value in our economy today? Well, there's a new value creation formula flowing through our entire economy based around these attributes: trust, respect, convenience, experience, and flexibility. I don't care what industry you're in, you're experiencing that. I was with a top executive of the banking industry yesterday talking about this. He said, that's exactly what we're dealing with right now. You can't go to any industry anymore without them grappling with, how do I embrace this? This is kind of the backdrop to every single business decision process going on. So if we're going to create value today, we have to swim in this current, and we have to embrace this new formula. So what does that mean for us in our guest experience when we actually buy a car? I want to suggest the following. Transparency is absolutely vital because transparency is the pathway to trust. In this economy, you don't get to trust if you don't have a transparent world. Speed. Speed is about respecting people's time. This is a right now world, and every moment a customer waits, value diminishes along the way. We can think about starting at 100% value, and every time we make them slow down or stop or not go at the pace we want, we're lowering the value. We live in a one-click world. We live in a world where customers would like to wave a magic wand and have everything come to them. They're like, how can't you just make it appear right in front of me? We want everything to be easy. We don't want to struggle or hassle ever if we buy something. We're like, this doesn't make any sense. Why do I have to hassle to buy this? And by the way, if I'm going to leave my house and go shopping somewhere, you better make it fun. You better make this an experience for me. And lastly, I want flexibility. I know what I want when I want it. Don't make me compromise for something. I want choices and options. I want flexibility all the time. And that requires a radical rethinking of our processes. So how in the world are we going to get there? I'll hold that question. Let's go to the next side of the page. Let's talk about productivity in a business model. It's 1975. I'm the general manager. I'm talking to my sales manager. We've got 10 salespeople. They've been averaging 10 cars apiece. We look at our forecast. What are we going to do? I don't know. What do you think? About 100 cars this month? Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? Here's the problem. It's 2017. I'm the general manager talking to my sales manager. We've got 10 cars. They're selling 10 salespeople. They're selling how many cars? 10 cars. What's happened in the United States economy since then? Since that period of time, the United States productivity has gone up 104%. Those 10 people should be selling 20 cars apiece. And by the way, the same thing is the case with technicians. They should be doing 80 hours now, not 40 hours, in the workplace. The result of that is our direct costs are too high because of a lack of productivity. If every salesperson was selling 20 units per salesperson, we either have significantly lower cost or significantly higher paid salespeople. Either one we may choose as a strategy to go to market. Either attract a certain type person or lower operating cost. And we've got to change that. So how do we change that? We'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to switch now to after sale because something dramatic's got to happen after sale as well. The first thing we got to do is radically apply lean process management into the automotive service business. How we think about engagement with customers. You know, in lean, waste means when a customer is not doing with the product what they wanted to do with the product. Any time spent by a customer on doing anything other than why the customer chose the vehicle is waste. We have some wonderful dealerships. A couple of them are ranked number one in the United States in customer satisfaction. But I can promise you we've never had a customer who says, you know, Don, I bought this car from you so that I could come to your service department. Because I just love your people so much, that's why I bought the car. Nobody buys the car to come to our service departments. Episodic service excellence is not a differentiator in value creation. Customers don't want to have to think about their vehicles. They want us to do all the thinking for them. They want us to do all the work for them. They just want to drive and enjoy their vehicles. And that's what customer engagement actually is going to mean in the future. Go enjoy the car. Don't worry about it. We have it for you. You know, in that model, that means that we look at a VIN in our marketplace and we say every single dollar ever spent on that VIN needs to be spent with us. How do we engage our customers in such a way that we take care of their cars and take care of their transportation? That means we must make a radical commitment to customer retention. And if we do this, we actually have a chance to really recapture margin. Because here are the consequences of customer retention going up. A 10% increase in customer retention is a 1% net to sales increase in the average dealership today. If you're at 50 and you go to 60, you get 1% net to sales. You're 50 to go to 70, you get 2. You're 50 and go to 80, you get 3% net to sales back. It's a gigantic virtuous cycle because we also have all heard you're 6 times more likely to buy a car from the same place again. Think about what that means for our business if we can rethink the connectivity we have with our customers. Well, how do we do it? Why haven't we been able to do that? What has to change in our industry is that technology has got to be driving our processes, which will enable a consistent, great customer experience and which will enable very high productivity. In the past in our business, we basically had people driving processes. But as Jim Collins has pointed out, every industry that's been transformed has put technology as the driver for change. It doesn't replace people, but it drives change because it accelerates it. And so how do we actually apply that technology in our space? Well, it begins with rethinking what we're doing and how we're relating to every customer. And we call that personalization and optimization, because the purpose of technology is to enable this. Technology is not the end, it's a means to get there. And that really brings us to the heart of what we think about at value creation. So, if you don't remember anything else I say, if you could just sear this picture in your brain, because this is actually the roadmap to how we get there. Connectivity, artificial intelligence, and predictive analytics come together to create total personalization. Exactly what the customer wants when they want it. And then that matches up with a great guest experience. Optimization and personalization at every engagement with every guest. That's the future model for building new value in our business and recapturing customers' hearts along the way. The kind of mass model we've had in the past will not work as we go forward. So, wonderful, Don. How do we actually do this? I hope you're feeling the tension right now between where we are and where we want to go. Because every friend I have that runs a company in every other industry, they're feeling the same thing. I sit on a number of boards. Every conversation, every break, every board meeting is exactly the same issues. If you're at Walmart today, what do you think they're talking about? I don't care what industry and you're talking about that. The same tension of here to here is in front of all of us. And the only path to getting there for all of us is really the complete digitization of our business. And what do I mean by that? Well, when we digitalize our business, we create more value for our customers, we lower our costs, and we increase our productivity. Remember, this is only a means, it's not the end. So we don't chase after digitization and say, I'm really cool now. We do it to create more value for customers. We do it to lower our costs and increase the productivity of our people. And these are the two biggest opportunities we have in front of us right now in the industry, to create and capture more value inside of our present paradigm. Personalize, optimize, digitize along the way. What could that look like? Well, here's some very practical examples. Some of these will take you back in time, those who have been in our business for a long time. Every Monday morning, huge energy, getting together all the deals, writing off every single floor plan check, running down to the bank, depositing all those, making sure we're on time. All my banking friends are here, man. We were always good about that. Can you imagine doing that today? It's unimaginable. Well, the future, all payments to all vendors will be fully automated and online. The whole accounting system's changing all over the country now. That's going to come to our dealerships. Vehicle inventory management. I used to meet one-on-one with my manufacturer rep for every single allocation. We'd argue over 2 blues or 1 gray and 1 silver. And, of course, I had my plan. He had his plan. 5 hours later, we all get together and we go out to dinner together afterwards. That was every month how we ordered cars. In the future, it'll be 100% automated by business rules regarding sales effectiveness, online metrics, and market data. We'll assign those, but once that happens, they'll churn out. Vehicle pricing. This is what we used to do. 4 specials. They'd be in the newspaper ad, they'd be on radio, they'd be on television, and then every other price was individually negotiated. We effectively created supply and demand every time a salesperson and a customer got together on every single car down the way. In the future, it will be dynamic and fully automated, driven by algorithms. Can you imagine the airlines getting together and saying, hey, what do you think? Charlotte to Chicago today, $4.99 or $5.99? You want to give it a shot? Let's try $5.99 today. Does that sound like our dealerships, right? The reality of it is all driven by algorithms and planned out to look at maximization of whatever our needs are in that model. Customer financing. When I was an F&I manager, this is embarrassing to tell you how long ago this was, we used to complete an application by hand. We would call the banker. This is before faxes. We would call the banker. The banker would be on the other side. I would read out to him the application. He would fill in the same application, just like I read to him. He would then call every reference on that. Somewhere 2 or 3 hours later, I would get a yes or no, which would usually start another negotiation where they give us this, where they give us that along the way. And of course, if we were aggressive, we spotted the deal and just prayed we got the thing bought anyway and tried to figure it out. In the future, it'll be fully automated, and we'll get a response in 60 seconds. If you looked at appraisals, man, we would give anything for a guru who knew everything within $50 what it's going to bring in an auction. That person was worth a ton of money in a dealership. And then we had auction sheets everywhere. We had books everywhere. We're running around arguing, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? In the future, imagine this, what happens. Every single auction comes rolled up in real time to us. Every market data is real time to us. Carfax is rolled up real time to us. The manufacturer's connected to us. We look at what's wrong with the car, and out it spits in 60 seconds, an appraisal. So the time required for buying a car, for select a vehicle, get the lowest price, receive an appraisal, secure financing, in the past, 2 hours, 4 hours, 2 days sometimes, it won't take 5 minutes. That part of buying a car won't take 5 minutes. So that begs the question, what do we do the rest of the time, right? That's where the value creation takes place, and connectivity with people and really bringing value into them. Another time we can talk about what that means for salespeople in the future and what that means in engaging with them. Used vehicle purchasing. We used to trade in vehicles, and then we went to auctions. When I go to the auction, I'd stay there all day. 4 o'clock, I didn't have what we needed. Just buy the last 4 cars, put them on the truck, and pray we could sell them. Everybody did that, all of America. All right? And the future will be automated around stocking specific day supply and individual vehicle categories based on turn and margin that we'll all look at. We'll be able to download and look at those nationwide and see what's available, what meets our markets. These changes offer opportunities for every person in this room to create more value, to lower costs, and to recapture margin within the framework of how we presently do business. And it's critical that everybody in this room is doing this right now. This current is moving fast down the model. It's happening every other industry. Customers expect it today. And if we lag behind, we're going to see enormous diminishment of value creation in our business today. But there's another opportunity, because everything I spoke about before was really about how do we improve our present business operations. And as I mentioned, there's huge opportunity for improvement. But this is about doing something new I'd like to talk to you about. And I'm calling it what it means to become an integrated transportation services provider. It's about a new frontier. It's about transformation and innovation. And it's about creating new value and making sure that as dealers, we capture that value. This value is going to be created. But if we don't look out, we won't be capturing that value. It'll go outside of our network. This is about moving to a business model that's known as value as service. It means provide the right vehicle at the right time for the right occasion at the right price. It's personalization and optimization fully realized in a digital world. That's what it means to have this happen. This is what Amazon does for you every single time you click on that place. And we've got to go down that same path. So what does that look like? Well, it's going to mean we've got to develop some new skill sets. Let's look what it means to apply this to asset management and personalization. So we start here with single vehicle and cash. You know what we see? That's how the whole business started, isn't it? You bought a car with cash. And then we had this innovation called time payments. 12 months, 24, 36, 48. No, that's not a quarterback calling a play. We kept rolling it out here. We're now up to 96 months. Then we developed leasing, because leasing meant that I didn't have to pay for the whole model effectively. I could take a residual out of the situation. But on the top, there's a whole other range of ideas we haven't even considered in our business. Single vehicles, pull of different vehicles from the same brand, pull of the same type of vehicles from different brands, pull of different types of vehicles from different brands. Look at these opportunities in front of us. They're gigantic, but they're going to require us imagining something different. The opening of all these buckets will be what I call a nova effect. That's like a star exploding. It goes into 1,000 different stars. And for us, it means trying to understand each one of these stars, where value is, where the opportunities are, and what we can do to realize those. If we can just open our imaginations to these, we can begin to see how this could happen. But it requires us being in the asset management business in new ways. So why does this create new value? Because dealers have traditionally only served a small fraction of the total opportunity. Our traditional offerings were unpersonalized and forced dealers to purchase a suboptimal product for the specific occasion they needed. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to the beach 4 times a year. I've got 3 kids. Honey, we need a Suburban to go to the beach. I need a Suburban to go to the beach 3 times a year. But because I can't get access to a Suburban, we buy a Suburban. That's not really what I wanted to buy. Instead, what I'd really like to do is have a pickup truck on Saturdays, a convertible for weekends, a sedan around town, an SUV when I go skiing. Why can't you make this work for me, Don? You've got all these cars. Why can't you figure this out? Also, when I go meet with manufacturers who bemoan the fact that, man, we have all these wonderful cars and we can't seem to ignite people's passion anymore about these cars. What's wrong? I tell them, why aren't people more passionate about them? Because they don't really have choice. Nothing's changed. They don't have access to all these cars. They have access to one of the cars. I tell them, look what dealers get to do. We get to change cars all the time. No wonder we're so passionate about the cars. They're a blast to drive. But the fact of the matter is, customers don't get to do that. What customers really want is the ability to drive different vehicles across categories that match their occasion. That's value as the service equation. And it moves us from a transaction business to a transportation service provider business. And we become a hub for our customers' transportation needs. And my friends, that's where value is created, and that's how we can capture value along the way. Here are the facts. We have everything in place to actually do this. We have all the fixed costs. We have all the locations. It would be a tragedy if we allowed third parties to come into our business and take that value away from us. We've got to be at the very center of understanding how we can access all those buckets for people's transportation needs. It's ours for the taking, but we have to start trying things now and moving in that direction. So let me summarize my 4 points. I'm calling it flourishing in the future. First, these are action steps that I would suggest that everybody needs to do. Embrace the world of personalization, optimization. Ask every single day in your business, are we getting better at this? Have we improved in any way on either one of those attributes today? Digitize everything that will create more value for customers, will lower your cost, and will enhance your productivity. Thirdly, radically commit to customer retention. Move beyond the model of service episodic excellence. Connect, connect, connect with your customers' lives. And lastly, prepare for the decoupling of the usage and ownership of vehicles. Begin to experiment with transportation services now. Look, we're already in the service loaner business. We're managing cars now. We need to start using our imagination to say, how can we actually create revenue off this model? How can we create different approaches? Optimize the right vehicle for the right occasion for your customer. Imagine yourself as the transportation services hub for your customers and for your community. If you do that, you're relevant to your customers' lives, And when you do that, you're creating value. So here's that picture again. I want to just be seared in your brain and ask yourself every single time, is every process I have and every technology I'm using and investing in helping me to do this? Because if you're investing in technology that's not helping you do this, you're wasting money and raising your cost. Your purpose is to create more personalization, more optimization, and a better guest experience, because that's the path forward for us. And I can tell you, I've never been more confident about something, and that is that the people gathered in this room can make the jump into this new world. I've known dealers all my life. There's not a more open, engaged group of people. But we'll require working closely with our technology partners. It will require an openness to new ideas and innovation, and it will require real leadership on our part. But if we do this, we will be at the center of value creation for our customers. And if we can do this, we will have an extraordinary future. You know, Peter Drucker once said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So my charge to all of us is, let's go do that starting right now, today. Thank you for your time today.
Let's have a seat. Thank you, Don. The number of phones that were out taking pictures of your slides, I thought I was at a Katy Perry show or something, if I went to those.
Don't confess that.
No. Thank you very much.
Yep.
That was very insightful. I think everybody, everybody really felt the same way. So let's start. I know that your son is here in the front row, and there are many dealers who think about succession. Right. They think about the issues of succession given the challenges that you see in front of you. How fast does a lot of this need to happen? This continually comes up in dealer conversations, of the speed of transformation that needs to take place. I'm sure you're going to say yesterday. Right.
So yesterday, but I would say it like this. What we need to do is embrace what's sometimes called design thinking and start doing all kinds of experiments and find out what creates value and test this, because unlike what we're doing now, look, there's a proven business model. I have a book from 1924, training from Ford Motor Company. I've known them from Chevrolet. You know, the basic business model is not that different. And now all of a sudden, so we knew what to do. If we wouldn't execute on that model, we could be very successful. Now we're finding that slip away from us. And so now to say, start testing things. You don't have to bet the whole farm on everything, but try one thing at a time and go after it, starting right now.
And I know that you do that, right? I mean, you're exploring different models. I know that you're a clutch subscriber, as an example. Do you feel you're moving fast enough?
Well, in our company, everybody feels like, send Don away for a month. He's driving us crazy because I feel just the pressure of this. And part of it is I get the chance to be around folks in other industries, and I say, wow, look what everybody's doing. Everybody's chasing after this. There's nobody who sits back and says, my business model is exactly where we want to go. And so for me, I feel that in saying, you know, if people think about this as a river, so all of a sudden, wow, the boat's getting way in front of us. We got to get going. We got to get going.
Are there other industries that you are modeling off of?
Well, you can go look at the two companies I mentioned earlier. You go look and you say, what did Apple do at the retail level? So I go and hang out in the Apple store down Manhattan all the time. I'm sure they're like, little, who is that weird guy? It just sits and watch, because I watch how they engage customers, how they created new value. Then I go and look and see what Amazon's done. I've followed everything I can about that, and the incredible attention to detail they've done on changing the dynamics of that business. But I'll tell you something that I saw just the other day, and you can learn all the places. I was coming back from Europe, and I'm going through customs. So all of us remember the big, huge lines in customs, and now there are kiosks everywhere, and there are people directing that. And I timed. And I've been to this airport probably 50 times to Europe. It was 20% of the time. They changed the process there. They had people, basically concierges, helping folks who were struggling. But if you could do your own, you just zip right through. So there's little changes you can make, big changes you can make along the way. But we've got to start looking in that value model that I mentioned before, those attributes, and saying we've got to embrace those in our business.
Is it changing the people who you hire and the skill set you need? I bet it is.
Yeah, it is. So, think about traditionally, if you could be a great negotiator, that was a great model. So negotiation now, well, we got $200 to work with. So, So, and also if you thought about the sales manager, we used to call them, they were basically deal and desk managers, and now they're people and process managers.
Yeah. You talked a lot about trust and about building trust. When you take Takata airbags, GM ignition switches, Volkswagen emissions, How can dealers build trust when products that they're selling are involved in scandals like that?
So this is a very big issue because think about, first off, we sit inside of an industry, so we sit inside an industry today that trust is diminished.
Yeah.
So that means we're swimming upstream in that model. So that means it begins with, we think, transparency. We describe it like this in our company. Transparency, always keeping your promises, and never advantaging yourself to the disadvantage of a customer, ever. That's the basis of all friendships. So we start with that in the simplest level because in our business, we're still neighbors to our customers. So let's start at a personalized level. But we also need the leaders of our companies to also raise that bar so the entire industry can be highly trusted.
Can you get manufacturers on board with what the model that you're describing? Because until now, it's not exactly been...
Right. So I've had lots of conversations with them. They're also grappling with what's going on. So they're all open, at least to these conversations now. You saw yesterday Porsche announced something new, Cadillac's trying something new, Volvo's trying something new, several other probably going to announce some things new soon. But they all recognizing that the retail model has got to change. What's their role? What's our role? How do we partner with this? We also got to have technology partners who really come in and say, let's drive down that value creating model.
The physical structure of the dealership, it's going to need to transform, I'm imagining, the way that you suggest. How is it going to transform? I know you're already thinking of this.
Yeah, we are thinking about it. Unfortunately, we have a lot of money invested in dealerships.
Well, that's the point. And you're being
Gigantic
asked to
amounts
invest
of money.
more, right?
Yeah. So if you think about how many people come to stores, well, it's hard to see the need for 15-car showrooms in the future. So we'd say, what will virtual reality do? How do people engage with us? We envision also the whole write-up process and services different. Today, we have concierge processes where more than half our customers, we deliver the car back to them. So all those things have got to change and restructure the model. There are a couple data manufacturers right now that have invited me to have conversation with them about beginning to reimagine that. So, but they're also locked into this model, and they've got dealers in transformation, so it's difficult for them to do that.
In the digitization space and making that personalization, digitization example, how far is that leap that needs to occur? You showed some examples that things that have already occurred.
Right.
But what's the leap going forward?
Yeah, so for me, first thing you have to look at is pricing models online have to be easy, transparent, and they have to be the prices that when the customer comes to the store, it's the same price. The appraisal, so look, there are a lot of third-party references out there right now. It'd be easy to begin to bring those together and aggregate that information. In the banking world, part of it is working through the Federal Reserve, what you do with direct and indirect business in the pipeline of that. But the fact of the matter, it's all there waiting to aggregate in the place. And then, in my mind, you let customers go as far as they want. So they want to go all the way through the process. They want to stop halfway, come in. And so when they do come into our stores, there's really no difference between being digital and being at the store along the way because it's all open in front of them.
But some vendors have grappled with that pathway.
Absolutely.
Getting all the way, creating an Amazon experience.
Absolutely. So it's a big problem right now.
Especially in the F&I space.
Yeah, if you look at F&I, you look at our major DMS vendors, you look at all of our partners to say somebody, the company that takes this leap and makes this jump is going to have a huge first mover advantage.
You talked about vehicle pricing being based on algorithms. Why not a better deal on service when the shop is less busy?
Yeah, so that's a whole nother thing we didn't go into in terms of what would happen in the service world. So in any other business, you look at kind of maximization of opportunities inside of a whole 24-hour structure. And there's a famous study actually done at business schools done a long time ago about Hilton Head and tennis in the summertime. They were going broke because nobody's playing tennis at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Hilton Head in August, right? So they said, how could we rethink that, change the pricing structure? Think about this for us at nighttime, weekends, and all kinds of ways to change costs and increase productivity of the actual return on that asset.
You still write your Saturday emails to your staff?
I do.
And these are lengthy, rich, data-rich and motivationally rich emails that I've had the opportunity to see some of those. Are the messages in those changing?
So the messages are all about this kind of where we are, where we're trying to go, looking at reality. Here's where we actually are. I wish we were all the way here. We're not. But then always reminding ourselves where we got to go. So we always want to be affirming what we're doing now, but challenging ourselves to say, we got to keep going there. There's a tendency to get complacent in our business where we're like, hey, we're doing really well. We make a lot of money. All these things are wonderful. But what can happen is that current's moving so fast. And we've seen that already in this year. Dealers are calling me and they're like, Don, what happened to me, man? like 6 months, my profit just evaporated on me. Well, because they weren't thinking about these implications.
I want to thank you very much. We could spend all day probably talking to you.
Great being
Thank you for coming. Thanks for your insights.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Don Flo.